Good evening and welcome to Camnet TV World News. To present, my name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Top stories in the news: controversial ASTRAZENECA COVID-19 vaccine arrives in the country. UPND'S Romeo Kangwombe slapped with a 2-year suspended jail sentence but qualifies to stand as MP. MDC attributes the continued endorsements of President Edgar Lungu by chiefs and others to hunger. In international news, Chinese COVID vaccines don't have high protection rates. And in sports, SHIPOLOPOLO coach blames loss to BANYANA on defensive lapses.
Are you a qualified, impartial and professional journalist, news editor, video editor or newscaster? Camnet TV is looking for more professionals in the media industry. For more details, call 0962 965883 or send your details to our email info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. The highly talked about COVID-19 vaccine known as ASTRAZENECA has arrived in the country. The vaccines arrived at the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport at around 14:20 hours. The consignment, which consists of over 228,000 doses, has been received by Health Minister Jonas Chanda and other ministry officials and international dignitaries. We have more in this report.
The COVID-19 vaccine ASTRAZENECA is in the country amid its concerns of its efficacy among stakeholders. This is because the history accompanying this vaccine is highly questionable, especially on the African soil. ASTRAZENECA has been deemed ineffective in South Africa during the second wave of the virus, which Zambia is currently in. How then will it work for the Zambian people if the virus being fought is what rejected the vaccine elsewhere? Your guess is as good as mine. Receiving the consignment at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, Health Minister Jonas Chanda says the arrival of the vaccine is a great step in the fight against the pandemic. He insists the vaccine will be given in a phased manner and in confidentiality.
That the rollout of the vaccination program will be in line with the National Vaccine Deployment Plan, which provides guidance on the prioritization criteria for the administration of the vaccine. The goal is to ensure that those that are most at risk receive the vaccination phase. The vaccine will be administered to all eligible persons above the age of 18. That is 8,438,118 Zambians, or 46% of the total population. Beginning with our frontline health workers, followed by other prioritized groups. I wish to reiterate that no one will be left behind as long as they are willing and volunteering to be vaccinated. Over the next few days, the available vaccines will be distributed to all parts of the country where they are needed. COVAX facility, as I said, is free and will cover 20% of the eligible adult population. That is 3,676,781 people. All the remaining 26%, or 4,761,327 people, will be covered under other pillars under the vaccine program approved by Cabinet, which will be supported by our donors, cooperating partners, the private sector, and indeed the government of the Republic of Zambia.
The minister also mentioned that members of the public should erase their concern that the vaccine is not safe for the Zambian people. He insists the vaccine is okay.
We are all aware that there are some safety concerns that have arisen regarding some of the vaccines that are currently being rolled out, including AstraZeneca and others. I want to reassure the nation that the Ministry of Health, ZAMRA, and the Zambia National Public Health Institute, working with global bodies and our cooperating partners, continue to monitor the evidence as it emerges and will continue basing our decisions on sound scientific evidence and guidance from the World Health Organization and other reputable authorities. As of now, the benefits of vaccination with AstraZeneca far outweigh any perceived risks. As we implement the Zambia COVID-19 vaccination program, pharmaceutical quality, safety, and ethical considerations remain critical for Zambia and will put in place a robust monitoring system being overseen by the Ministry of Health and its statutory body, ZAMRA.
The minister has also called on members of the public to ignore assertions that the vaccine is not safe for the people. The consignment was received by the international dignitaries, among them the European Union, the American Embassy, and other United Nations members. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Meanwhile, Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD President Nevas Mumba has advised government against imposing the vaccine on citizens before answering pertinent questions Zambians are raising. Zambians have continued to express great concern over the vaccines, which have been reported to have side effects on those who have received the jab in other countries, especially South Africa. We have more in this report.
Over the safety of the ASTRAZENECA vaccine, which has arrived into the country, continue to emerge following the European Medicines Agency's indication that several countries in Europe have either temporarily paused the use of specific batches of the ASTRAZENECA vaccine or its use altogether as a precautionary measure pending the outcome of an investigation. Some stakeholders are asking questions as to why Zambia settled for this vaccine. The Safety Committee has initiated an investigation into cases of blood clots reported in Europe post-vaccination. Movement for Multi-Party Democracy President Pastor Nevas Mumba, during a Sunday service as a guest preacher at Healing Words Ministries, advised the Ministry of Health to be ready to answer to issues surrounding the efficacy of the vaccine.
All the Zambians who go and give their hands without asking a single solitary question. I come from a different background. I've got a mind of my own. I'm going to ask a question or two. Who the heck made this stuff? What is in this stuff 20 years from now? What about my children and grandchildren? What is going to happen to them if I need some answers before I put stuff in there. But because the spirit of the age has said COVID-19, everybody's what? Give me the jab. Which jab? Do you know what's inside the jab?
Dr. Mumba wondered how the government settled for a vaccine which has issues.
I am not against any medicine or any vaccine. Just allow us to ask. Don't be frustrated with our questions, just answer them. My children, when they were growing up, they had so many questions. Dad, why do you walk like that? Very irrelevant questions, but as a father I must answer. Just answer. Just answer. Stop being smart. Answer. I said to my young brother, the Minister of Health, Dr. Jonas Chanda, please make sure that you create an atmosphere where questions are going to be asked. Zambians must be sure that what they're doing is right. Because this vaccine that is coming here is not being used in other countries. They have rejected it. The yes. So people are wondering, what are we going to do with it? So please, let's have a discussion.
He said the vaccine must be approved by a local medical expert before being administered to Zambians. In the region, South Africa halted the rollout of the vaccine due to poor results, although locally the argument has been that the benefits outweigh the risks. Whether you are going to take the vaccine or not, the decision is yours. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
A lifeless body of an unidentified male resident of Lusaka's Kabanana compound in an area known as Kwamaichola has been discovered. The residents have since attributed the numerous killings in the area due to limited police presence. Sharon Kalimbula was in the area and now reports.
This is Kwamaichola, an area in Kabanana Township where a somber mood had characterized the Chileshe family. This was after residents woke up to a lifeless body Monday morning. The wife of the deceased, Rebecca Chileshe, woke up to a rude shock after her husband's lifeless body was found a few meters away from their home. Eyewitnesses have told Camnet News that the man in his early 30s was found with a cut on his head. Mr. Chileshe's death has been attributed to poor security in the area, adding that this could have been avoided if police had presence in the area.
nga kuno watu kama ichora kulivuto police post likutali kulibe security majanki wali furu ngakwa 19 page kibebe nishozameni uzapoke wa vina so kuno watu kuli problem ikuru boma ifunika iranganirepo
police abakuthi baledumwenako ifine twalufya badimwe kabesu bayipaya so tulefasana sana kuno kube security tulipanshi batumfweko na ifobele tulefa police tatwakwata market kuno tatwakwata clinic tatwakwata nameshi tatwakwata nomba makamaka
The residents also accused the police of failing to respond quickly when matters are raised by members of the public.
Police ni kutaka kukatika vitu. Pakati wa boy wa police kunisha ushu nishumamini. Hele wa police futi wali fast kubwera ngati mkawala boya menyewe. Ngati muntu afa muone laja lafa ku itaimvera kandi na 04. Bati babo tenga kuma 10 kuma 10 wanjepe bate so majita nziwa bwanji boma ilanganile poitone kona ise kuno kwa maicho kwa.
The deceased is survived by 3 children and a wife. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Worldwide Fund for Nature has observed with concern that water resources have been negatively impacted by climate change, high population growth, and rapid urbanization over the last decades, affecting water-dependent sectors and the overall economic performance at large. WWF Zambia Government Relations and Strategic Partnership Manager Isabel Mkelabai notes that this calls for an urgent need to be more strategic in the management of these resources for sustained social and economic development. She says the relationship between economic development and the environment in Zambia cannot be overemphasized. Speaking during a media briefing ahead of the launch of the Strategic Investment Pathways report based on a case study of the Zambezi Basin in Lusaka on Monday, Ms. Mkelabai notes the need to strengthen private sector participation in the water sector. WWF Zambia, in partnership with IBN NBEV through Zambian Breweries PLC, commissioned a study in the first quarter of 2019 to assess the policy environment for sustainable strategic investments led by the private sector with a focus on the Zambezi River Basin.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, for private sector is about helping them to de-risk their businesses. As you know, many of the businesses in Zambia depend on water, and this is why WWF has been very strong on the aspect that Zambia is actually a blue economy. What do we mean by that? I think the current narrative we see is that everybody considers, Zambia being a copper economy because we are strong on commodity trade. But you do know that every economic sector will not run without water. You do know that the economic wheels of this country will not turn if our water levels go down. We are experiencing heightened threats to water availability arising from many factors, including climate variability that we are experiencing in the last few years. So what that means is that in terms of national planning, we really need to get it right in terms of making sure that we don't get to a level where we are experiencing water scarcity.
An organization as Zambian Breweries, in terms of the report that is being spoken of today, and how is it that we find, or rather we think, that this report benefits not just this country alone, but we all know that the Zambezi Basin speaks to different countries in the region. It is important for us because this report and the investment pathways that are being presented are speaking to projects that will speak to resource management, projects that will speak to water efficiency. How do you use water? What initiatives can we come up with to use water efficiently?
The Opposition Movement for Democratic Change, MDC, has attributed the continued political endorsement of President Edgar Lungu and the PF by chiefs to hunger. MDC Secretary General Lucky Mulusa says Zambia is going through a lot of economic challenges. Hence, when government dishes out money to them, the chiefs are quick to render endorsements. Mr. Mulusa has meanwhile stated that those eating from the PF and endorsing them at the same time are merely doing so to safeguard their selfish interests. Mr. Mulusa has, however, told Camnet News that even if chiefs attempt to influence their subjects, it will amount to nothing, as people have already made up their minds to change government come 12th August 2021.
It's hunger. The traditional leaders must be taken to task and be asked, what is it that the ruling party has done to deserve the support that they are talking about? If they talk about road infrastructure and that kind of stuff, the question is, at what cost have we had this infrastructure? It is probably 4 or 5 times the cost that we should have had. They should go back to 2011 and look at what the economy was in 2011 and compare to what it is today. They should convince Zambians. They should not just be uttering wild statements due to the development, due to this. No. Let them specifically explain, if it is due to development, what development? If it is a road, at what cost? They should be able to do that in order for them to justify. In fact, traditional leaders hardly have people. They hardly have people behind them. People make their own individual decisions. Traditional leaders rarely command people to go in any direction. So for us, it's honestly neither here nor there.
Sesheke Central UPND Member of Parliament Romeo Kangwombe has left the Chinsali Correctional Facility after paying the 10,000 kwacha the Chinsali Magistrate Court had ordered him to pay. Mr. Kangwombe was slapped with a 2-year suspended sentence, meaning he will not serve it from prison but outside. This, however, means that Mr. Kangwombe is still eligible to contest as MP in 2021. Chinsali resident magistrate Julius Malata last week found Mr. Kangwombe guilty of assaulting 2 police officers. Magistrate Malata has since warned Mr. Kangwombe against a similar offense within 2 years or risk being handed a stiffer punishment. Mr. Kangwombe has been in prison since last week when he was convicted of the offense.
Chinsali bena chisali kulepa aba ave na ba amen bomba background not pano bola pa Zambia forward.
You're watching Camnet TV World News. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news.
You know I can take her a break.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
And why do you look so pale and busy scratching yourself?
Well, you know my skin is very sensitive. I've tried all the skin products and nothing seems to work. Have you tried Oracle Pure Glycerin?
Oracle Pure Glycerin? What's that?
Just give me a minute.
Oracle Pure Glycerin gives your skin a youthful and healthy glow.
Ish, you're glowing. Don't tell me. Yes! I already know the secrets. Oracle Pure Glycerin!
Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for that perfect skin. Are you a qualified and skilled marketing person? Have you got the passion and motivation as a marketer? Camnet TV is looking for self-motivated, qualified marketers. For more details, please call 0962 965 883 or send your details to the email info@camnettvafrica.com.
Remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. A disability organization has expressed disappointment with the opposition UPND and the ruling Patriotic Front for sidelining them in their national governing councils. Born short but living tall Executive Director Ntalasha Chisha has noted with concern the fact that the two leading political parties have not included disabled persons in their top organs where decisions are made. Mr. Chisha says this is despite his organization writing to the named political parties asking if it could second some of their members to be considered for inclusion in their governing councils. He is disappointed that their pursuit to have political parties allocate at least 25% of adoptions to differently abled persons has remained an aspiration. Mr. Chisha holds the strong view that if matters affecting persons with disabilities are to be given the attention that they deserve, they need to be addressed and handled by the affected persons themselves.
However, we want to state that we're extremely worried that persons with disabilities have been left out again and there is no representation in either the UPND'S, NMC, or the ruling party's MCC. It is extremely disappointing to note that the two biggest political parties do not seem to want to include persons with disabilities in top leadership position as that of NMC and MCC. And if our two major political parties are unable to include persons with disabilities because they are supposed to lead by example, then what do we expect from these other political parties? We have seemingly observed that young people too have also been left out as members in the UPND'S NMC and MCC in PF. This means the future of young people is equally uncertain because there are no representation in top positions.
A police officer at Lusaka Division has told the Lusaka Magistrate Court that police decided to arrest some UPND cadres who escorted their party president Hakainde Hichilema for interrogation at force headquarters for refusing to adhere to police commands. Sergeant Patrick Mawere testified before Magistrate Felix Sikaoma that he and his team tried chasing the cadres from the vicinity, but they refused and continued chanting their party slogans, a move which made police to arrest them so as to restore order. This is in a matter where 9 UPND cadres are before court and charged with the offense of conduct likely to cause a breach of peace. We have more in this report.
Court will continue to hear the case of 9 United Party for National Development UPND cadres on the 28th of April 2021, a matter they have been accused of conducting themselves in a manner likely to cause breach of peace. The accused were arrested on the 23rd of December 2020 following a fracas that led to the shooting dead of a state prosecutor, Nsamach Pyoka, and Joseph Kaunda, a UPND supporter. Monday morning, the court heard testimony from Sergeant Patrick Mawere, who testified that the accused were arrested following the action they took on blocking roads and disturbing road users during the time they went to offer their solidarity to their party leader, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, who was summoned by the police. The witness, however, failed to confirm with the court at which point exactly the accused persons were arrested from. The 9 accused in this matter are charged with idle and disorderly persons, but they all pleaded not guilty. The accused persons in this matter are Eddie Nawa, Sidney Ngulube, John Walima, Nelson Banda, Wellington Mwanza, Henry Mutale, Levi Maliwa, John Kachitoko, and Nicholas Matongo. They are alleged to have on the 23rd of December 2020 in Lusaka, while jointly and whilst acting together conducted themselves in a manner likely to cause breach of peace at a public place, namely along Independence Avenue. And according to the witness, he and his friend tried to dispense the accused, but they refused to leave and continued chanting slogans and dancing and offering their support, leaving them with no option but to arrest them. The matter has since been adjourned to the 28th of April 2021 for continued trial in the matter. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD, under the leadership of Dr. Nevas Mumba, has asked the Lusaka High Court to discharge the ex-parte order of interim injunction granted to Operation Save MMD led by Raphael Nakachinda, saying it was tainted with irregularity. According to the arguments in support of notice of motion to raise preliminary issues against contempt proceedings filed on the 12th of April 2021, the defendants states that with regard to contempt proceedings, there is no evidence of personal service of the ex-parte order injunction. This is in a case where former Kamfinsa Member of Parliament, Webi Chipili, and 19 others are challenging the election of Dr. Mumba and Elizabeth Chitika and seeking a declaration that the extraordinary convention held on the 20th of March 2021, which ushered them as leaders of MMD, is illegal and void. We have more in this report.
Battle between New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy and Operation Save MMD continues before the Lusaka High Court, with the latest submissions coming from New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy led by Dr. Nevas Mumba that the ex-party order of interim injunction, which was granting leave to save MMD, led by Raphael Nakachinda to commence contempt proceedings, is tainted by the irregularity of the originating process and cannot be sustained. In this case, former Kamfisa Member of Parliament Webi Chipili and 19 others are challenging the election of Dr. Nevas Mumba and Elizabeth Chitika and seeking a declaration that the extraordinary convention held on the 20th of March 2021, which ushered them as leaders of MMD, is illegal. According to an affidavit in opposition to notice of motion for an order of committal and in support of notice of motion to raise preliminary issues against the contempt process, the MMD leaders want the court to discharge the committal proceedings against them. In a notice of motion to raise preliminary issue against contempt proceedings, the defendant is seeking a determination on whether the court has jurisdiction to grant any order in the court process pending an application to set aside the originating process for irregularity. They want a determination on whether MMD Vice President Clement Zulu and Gregory Mofo, among others, who are not parties to the cause of action commenced by Chipili and 19 others and not named in the ex-parte order of interim injunction signed on the 20th of March 2021, can be cited for contempt. They state that all these failures are the plaintiff's own doing because of bad habits of failing to follow the rules. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A junior chief of the Lenje-speaking people, Charles Mulando, in this case Chief Liteta, has dragged Chief Chitanda and Chief Chamuka in the Lusaka High Court for sidelining him as the rightful heir to the throne of Senior Chief Mukuni Ng'ombe. Chief Liteta has told the court that on the 26th of March 2021, following the death of Senior Chief Mukuni Ng'ombe, Chief Chipepo, he was supposed to ascend to the throne as the longest-serving junior chief but was overlooked. He says it has been a long-established tradition that the ascendancy to the throne is on a rotational basis and the longest-serving junior chief ascends to the throne of Senior Chief Mukuni Ng'ombe. However, contrary to the long-standing and established tradition of appointing a longest-serving junior chief, he was sidelined in preference for Chief Chitanda. Chief Liteta says he protested the appointment of Chief Chitanda because it was not the criteria, and despite Chief Munokalia Mukuni intervening in the matter, the defendants are insisting on enthroning Chief Chitanda as Senior Chief Kang'OMBE, contrary to the established tradition. Chief Liteta now wants the court to order that Chief Chitanda is not declared Chief Kang'OMBE until determination of the matter. You're watching Camnet TV News, not just another channel. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
2021 has been described as a highly politically charged year. This is because every 5 years, the country goes to the polls, and that 5 years elapses. With only a few months remaining down to the ballot, the battlefield to appear on the ballot is becoming fertile. A lot of people are expressing interest of appearing on the ballot.
In all this, our interest is to put the duty bearers, the leaders, and those aspiring to task by asking the relevant questions.
If you're an aspiring candidate, be it councillor, mayor, or member of parliament, get in touch with us to get yourself on the verdict.
We go beyond speculation in dealing with policy and governance issues. The right questions are asked to help you make a verdict.
For more details, you can call us on 0962 965883, 0979 753010, or email us info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Join us on Camnet TV
every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 17:45 hours
on a new program dubbed The Verdict.
Remember that Camnet TV is not just another channel.
Are you a qualified, impartial and professional journalist, news editor, video editor or newscaster? Camnet TV is looking for more professionals in the media industry. For more details, call 0962 965883 or send your details to our email info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. And in international news, Officer Joe Gutierrez has been fired after an investigation showed that he violated police procedure during a traffic stop in which he is accused of assaulting U.S. Army Lieutenant Caron Nazario. Gutierrez pepper-sprayed Nazario even though his hands were raised and he was not resisting. Nazario filed a lawsuit against the two police officers in federal court for violating his constitutional rights, including assault and illegal detention. While he was not charged in the incident, he says the policeman threatened to damage his reputation in the military if he told anyone about how he was treated.
Open the door, get out the car!
U.S. Army officer Caron Nazario was driving on a dark road in rural Virginia last December when police pulled him over for a missing license plate. What happened next, he and his attorney say, was a case of racial profiling and police brutality.
My hands are right here. What's going on?
Get out of the car now! I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I? Yeah, you should be. Get out!
Windsor, Virginia police officer Joe Gutierrez pepper-sprayed Lieutenant Nazario, even though his hands were raised and he was not resisting.
Get out of the car!
Don't reach in there.
My hands are out, please. Please, look. This is really messed up. My dog is in the back. My dog is choking right now. Get out of the car!
Nazario repeatedly asked the policeman why he was being assaulted.
Get out of the car right now! Now! This is not how you treat a vet. I'm actively serving this country, and this is how you're going to treat me? I didn't do anything. Whoa, hold.
The policeman ordered Nazario, who was unarmed and wearing his military uniform, out of the car and knocked him to the ground.
Why am I being treated like this? Why? You're not cooperating. Get on the ground. Why am I being treated like this?
Nazario has sued the Windsor police for violating his constitutional rights, alleging assault and illegal detention.
He was not resisting in any way, shape, or form. His hands are clearly visible, and he is the one that remains calm when these men are threatening his life. It's absurd.
Nazario, who was not charged in the incident, says the policeman threatened to damage his reputation in the military if he told anyone about how he was treated.
They knew they were in the wrong, and then they threatened to destroy a man's career if he called him out on it.
Nazario had temporary license plates displayed on his vehicle. Virginia's governor has ordered an independent investigation. The Windsor Police Department has not responded to news media requests for comment. Officials from the town of Windsor, Virginia say Gutierrez has been fired. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera.
China's top disease control official has said the country's vaccines offer low protection against coronavirus in a rare admission of weakness. Gao Fu also said China was considering mixing vaccines as a way of boosting their effectiveness. China has developed 4 different vaccines approved for public use, though some trials abroad had suggested efficacy as low as 50%. Mr. Gao later said his comments had been misinterpreted. Beijing has insisted the jabs are effective and said in March that obtaining visas would be easier for foreigners who have received a Chinese vaccine.
Is developing, or it has developed, 4 homemade COVID-19 vaccines. Only one of them has been given full approval for use in this country. None of them have been given full approval for use abroad. But nonetheless, China is ramping up its inoculation program, and it's also using its vaccines for diplomatic leverage, either giving them to countries abroad or agreeing to sell them to countries abroad. The last 24 hours has shown how challenging it is for this country to have anything like an open discussion about the efficacy of some of these homemade vaccines. George Gao, this country's most senior official when it comes to disease control, did say over the weekend that maybe mixing up vaccines in terms of their deliverance would make it better in terms of those that didn't have very high protection rates. Now, he wasn't explicitly referring to Chinese homemade products, but Sinovac Biotech, in terms of its vaccine, has shown to have an efficacy of just under 50% or just above. Foreign competitors, Moderna and Pfizer, are well into the 90%. Oxford AstraZeneca is into the 90% or ranging down from 60% as well. So it appears he was talking about the homemade product. But since then we've had clarification. We've had him tell state media here it was a misunderstanding. And this is also in the context of China trying to use, as I said, its homemade vaccines for maximum diplomatic leverage, and also convince more and more people here to take the vaccines. It's ramping up the delivery program. It's trying to aim for the majority of people by the end of the summer. That looks ambitious at the moment. But in the last 24 hours, we've seen George Gao say what he said, then seem to row back, or at least say it was a misunderstanding. And that shows you the environment here in which he is operating.
It's now time for sports news. In sports news tonight, Zambia national women team coach Bruce Mwape has lamented silly goals conceded by his team during the international friendly match against South Africa played at Bidvest Stadium in Mill Park. Mwape feels his team allowed easy goals which they handed their opponents on a silver plate. Mwape goes on to say that he thought his players were fit only to be exposed during the game. Mwape, who spoke to the Zamfoot crew after the match, says of the 3 goals Zambia conceded were due to defensive lapses and failure to react quickly during set pieces. Barbara Banda put Zambia in the lead in the 19th minute, but Noko Maklu leveled matters and put South Africa in the lead in the 39th and 43rd minute respectively, before Tembi Kaklana could seal the result in the 52nd minute. Zambia next faces the Harambee Starlets in another international friendly match scheduled for Saturday, the 24th of April. Coach Bruce Mwape is using the friendly matches as part of preparations for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. That sporting item brings us to the end of our news. We take a look at stories making headlines once more. Controversial ASTRAZENECA COVID-19 vaccine arrives in the country. UPND'S Romeo Kangwombe slapped with a 2-year suspended jail sentence but qualifies to stand as MP. MDC attributes the continued endorsements of President Edgar Lungu by chiefs and others to hunger. In international news, Chinese COVID vaccines don't have high protection rates. And in sports news, SHIPOLOPOLO coach blames loss to BANYANA on defensive lapses. The Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of James 1, verse 2-3, and it reads, "Consider it a great joy, my brothers, whenever you experience various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance." My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.